Right, a function, all right, is basically a relation between a set of inputs, okay? And what that means is you put a value in, and whenever you put a value in, you get an output out. All right, so the input is related to the output. So what we call these, when we're dealing with functions, we call something called a domain. All right, so the domain of a function are basically the x values. They pretty much the values you substitute into your function. Right? So the x values are the values you substitute into my function. And that's important. You need to write that down. And the range is the y values. They're the values that come out from the substitution. So let's make sure that's clear, because that's tricky. The domain of the values that go in, the x values, so when you're looking at coordinates, the domain of the x values that go in, and the range of the y values when they come out, when you substitute them. So for instance, previously when you've been doing like y equals x squared, the values of x on the top line of the table would be the value, the domain, the values you fit in, and the range would be the values that come out. Right, all functions have got a domain and a range, so that is important. They've all got values you got put in, and they've all got values you put out. Right, it's important you know the notation, all right? And with functions, there's certain notation. If you see a round bracket, all right, basically round bracket A to B, that does not include the end. So the round bit does not include the end points. And what that means is going from A up to X up to B. It doesn't include the A to B. Alright, and what that means in an example would be if I put like 2 up to 7, that means X is bigger than 2 but less than 7. So it doesn't include the 2 and the 7. So it's between 2 and 7. X is bigger than 2 and X is between 7. So sometimes you see a square bracket. Whenever you see a square bracket, the square bracket includes the endpoints. So the square includes the endpoints. So when I'm dealing with a square bracket, that one would mean x is bigger than or equal to a, but less than or equal to b. So it includes. An example of that one, if I do it with the same numbers, that one would include this. So x is bigger than or equal to 2, but is less than or equal to 7. So it's important you understand that a round bracket doesn't include the endpoint. A square bracket includes the endpoint. And so far, we've done a few important domain of the x values you substitute in, the range of the y values that come out. If it's a curly bracket or round bracket, it doesn't include that number on there. But if it's a square bracket, it includes that value. Sometimes they put a lot of things like this on. Minus infinity up to 4. So sometimes you see a curly bracket and a square bracket. So that means, because the curly curved bracket is by the minus infinity, curved bracket does not include. So that means that x is bigger than minus infinity up to 4. But it does, because it's a square bracket, it includes the 4. So it's less than or equal to 4. So because it includes that one, because it's a square. But it doesn't, it's not equal on that one, because it's a curved round bracket. Like if I put this one down, this time I put a square bracket on the minus 2. So that's the first bit. So if I write it between minus 2 and infinity, because it's a square bracket, it includes it. Alright, so because it includes it, I'm going to change that now to a less than or equals, or bigger than or equals, depends which way you're looking at it from. So that one would take every value from -2 up to infinity.